Welcome to a spooky Halloween edition of my Shop My Stash. I cannot believe we are already in October. September just flew by. The entire year has just flown by. I mean, it has gone by so quickly. We only have a few more months and then we'll be in 2024, and it just literally blows my mind how fast this year has just gone by. We're officially in October, and officially it is spooky Halloween season. We have been celebrating since August in this house, but officially, based on the calendar, it is the spooky Halloween time of the year. So in this Shop My Stash, I'm going to be focused on makeup that I want to use, to put together like Halloween spooky type looks throughout the month of October. If you saw my last video where I talked about the spooky Halloween kind of horror themed makeup that I have in my collection, then you will have seen, you have an idea, as it were, of some of the palettes, some of the products I'm going to be pulling out for the Shop My Stash. Now, as far as like blush, highlighter, that type of thing, there are some products that I'm going to be pulling out for sure because I'm testing them, products I know for sure that I want to use throughout the month. But because of, the theming of this month, I will be like putting some things back and kind of switching out throughout the month, just based on, whatever looks I end up doing. As usual, some of the products will be staying, some of the products will be going back, and I'll just kind of work through that with you as we go along. I don't want to babble too much in this intro, so let's go ahead and jump right on in. As you can see, I finally replaced the fabric on top of the vanity. If you recall, I had that white piece of fabric up here that was kind of thin, and so you could see the stains from the vanity through it. With this fabric, it's thicker. You cannot see any of the stains. This fabric is a lot more sturdy. It's more heavy duty. I think it looks so much nicer on top of the vanity. I'm loving the way everything looks. These are the palettes that I actually pulled for the last Shop My Stash. These are palettes that I bought throughout the month of September. Not a lot, but yeah, I did bring some things in. Almost all of these palettes I have videos for that I've done reviews. The two Grease palettes, the Anastasia palette, the Tarte palette, and then the Nomad Ghost Town USA. All of these I have videos for. I will link those down below in case you're curious about what I thought about the palettes. This is the Smokin' Hot palette from ColourPop. I have been eyeing this one for a while, and I decided to go ahead and just pick it up during the Labor Day sale. I haven't actually used this one yet. I'm going to put this one away until November. As much as I wanted to pull this one into my collection, it's not one that I really want to use in October. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one away, but you will be seeing it sometime in the next couple of months. As far as the rest of these palettes, everything will be going back except for the Grease X Revolution T-Birds. And the only reason is because I haven't had a chance to use this one yet. I want to use this one in a shorts and put together a quick look. This is what that color story is looking like. So I want to do something just kind of really cool and smoky. So this one's going to stay out, but I'm going to put it over there on the shelf where I have like the makeup that I like to film with, and then the rest of the palettes I'm going to put back. Let's go through the palettes that I actually pulled for the Shop My Stash real quick. So first we have the Hershey Kisses Special Dark. I have to admit, I didn't really like this one. The formula in this palette was okay, but it definitely was not one of my favorites. The Glamlight Ice Cream Dreams palette, I freaking love that one. I think that one has the most amazing formula. The other palettes that I've tried outside of that one, I don't know, I feel like they're okay, but I just don't feel like they perform the same. It's like the Glamlight formula is not very consistent from one palette to the other. This one was okay, but I don't know if it's going to stay in my collection at the end of the year. Then we have the Fiery Mattes from Beauty Bay. I freaking love this one. This is an all matte palette. It has these gorgeous, warm, spicy neutrals. Beautiful. The Nomad Hudson Valley. I will definitely be pulling this one back out in November. November is when I like to pull back out those deep, rich fall tones again. That's the color story for this palette. The other two are from Blend Bunny. One thing I did not mention was that I did make some changes. I realized that when I did the blushes in the last Shop My Stash, first of all, I pulled out way too much blush, and then I pulled out a lot of shades that were very similar to each other. So I put some things back and then switched out some of them so that I had a more even balance of products. So this right here does not look the way it did when I did the last Shop My Stash. Same thing with the eyeshadow palettes. I originally had, if you recall, the ColourPop It's a Mood. I decided to keep that one out, but I kind of realized that That one just didn't really have the shades that I wanted to use, so I put that one back, and instead I pulled out the Dollhouse from Blend Bunny. You had like different tones that are brighter, going a little bit more on the neutral side. I just felt like this one just fit better for what I was wanting to do than the ColourPop one was, so I switched them out. And then the last palette that I pulled out and lashed out my stash was the Blend Bunny All Done Up. This one will definitely also be coming back out in November. I mean, that is just the perfect fall color story. I'm going to put all of these palettes away, and then we can start pulling out new spooky Halloween themed palettes for the spooky month of October. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you guys saw my last kind of spooky Halloween horror themed makeup video, you have a pretty good idea of which palettes I'm going to be pulling out. Originally, I said that I was putting everything back except for the T-Birds, but I am keeping out the Ghost Town USA from Nomad because this is a Halloween themed palette, so we're going to keep this one out. And I'm probably going to be pulling more palettes than I usually do. Let's start with the shelf. There's only one palette over here that I'm going to be pulling, and it is the Haunted Europe palette from Nomad. This one right here with the shifty holographic cover. And that's our color story with the greens and the purples and the golds. Everything else should be coming out of the drawers. This is the first drawer. I'm not pulling anything out for this Shop My Stash, but I'm just going to say, guys, I really love this Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. It's so freaking beautiful. The second drawer, this is mostly ColourPop. There's going to be a lot of palettes that are going to be coming out of here. Just happens to be that I have a lot of kind of like Halloween-y, spooky themed palettes from ColourPop. The first one I'm pulling, this is the Blow and Smoke. You have this really pretty black, gray, silver moment. I don't pull this palette out very often throughout the rest of the year, but with this kind of gothic gray silver color story, definitely going to be using it this month. I'm also going to be pulling the Gather Around Sisters, the Hocus Pocus collaboration. Just love the whole theming and this color story. It's just perfect. I'm also going to pull the Hocus Pocus 2 collaboration. This one was the second collaboration that Hocus Pocus did with ColourPop, but it's not one of my favorites, but I do like this one. This one was from the Hocus Pocus 2, so the sequel movie that came out last Halloween. And this color story, you guys, I freaking think this one is so perfect for Halloween. I will definitely be using so many of these shades, especially the oranges and the purples and the greens in the middle. Gorgeous. I'm trying to remember if there was anything in my archive. I know that I talked about that Villains palette in my spooky Halloween themed makeup video. Let me see what other palettes I pull out, and I may go ahead and pull that one out too. So let's move on to our third drawer. I'm definitely going to be pulling out the Moonfall from Shroud Cosmetics. These super rich, just kind of gothic theme, and these bright, shifty shimmers. Like, to me, this is the perfect Halloween color story. I'm very excited about pulling this one out this month. And then we have It's Freaking Bats. We have It's Freaking Bats and we have Hollow Bean. While I like both, let me just show you the color story. So we got It's Freaking Bats. This is like the perfect Beetlejuice kind of themed as far as the color story is concerned. And then this one is Hollow Bean. I love the shade right here, but as far as these two, this is the one that I'm gravitating more towards, so I'm going to pull this one out. I might pull this one out later if I feel the need to pull in this shade, but as far as the whole palette, pretty sure that this shade is the only one that I would really use because I do have these shades and other palettes that I'm pulling. So we're not going to pull this one, but we are going to pull this one. So let's go ahead and go look in the archive. I might pull a couple things from there. This is one of the ones that I talked about in that spooky, Halloween horror themed makeup video. Do I want to pull this one out? You know what? I do. The gold on the top right here, and then that green, those are really standing out to me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one, and then that is going to be it for the palettes. I don't think I'm going to pull anything else. I'm going to get this organized, and then we can move on to this area. Let's talk about our project empties first. I used up some things, so I have some new products over here that I pulled in. Finally used up the One Size Turn Up the Base BB Cream. So I went on ahead and I pulled in the Milani Screen Queen. I love this foundation. This is one of my absolute favorites, but unfortunately it's discontinued, and I've had this one for a while. Really need to go ahead and use it up, so I pulled this one in. I also used up the Laura Geller Spackle Hydrate Primer, and I pulled in the A+ No Pore Face Primer from AOA Studios. Again, one of my absolute favorites, but I do have the new one. That's the reformulation that I absolutely love, and I've had this one for a while. Need to use this one up too, so pull this one in here, and I think that's it. No, the mascaras. I finally used up the other two mascaras that I have, so I pulled in the Blink the Blink Ultraviolet Tubing Mascara and then the Milani Lash Extensions. So I pulled these in. I think that's it. I think everything else is the same. So let's go ahead and move on to here, which is the actual Shop My Stash. All right, first of all, both foundations are going to be staying in. We have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus in Caramel. I originally had the Kimchi Chick over here. I did end up throwing that away, not because I don't like the foundation, but it was starting to turn. It was not performing the same. You guys, I was doing everything I could to try to make that foundation work, and it was finally like, girl, it ain't working. You need to go ahead and get rid of it. So I did toss that one, and I pulled in this one, which is the Oma by Sharon C. Flawless in Real Life Skin Perfecting Foundation. So I pulled this one in. Both foundations are going to stay in. The Wet n Wild one I did pull in the last rotation, but I've almost emptied this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep it out until I use it up, and then I'll pull something in once that one is empty. Both of my primers are going back. The Color Matte Primer, I got this one from Temu. This was like $1.50, $1.88. It was around $2. You guys, this is such a freaking good mattifying primer. It left my skin matte. It helped control oil like throughout the entire day, but it didn't look dry or anything. I loved this primer. I also loved the Fix and Last from Essence. This is one of my favorites. It's a jelly gripping primer. It's supposed to be like the one from Milk Makeup and the one from e.l.f. But I find this one to be a little more hydrating and just goes on a little bit smoother. As you can see, we use this one a lot. It is such a good primer. I'm keeping out all three of the mascaras. These are all from AOA Studio, the Curl Length and the Volumizing. I spent a lot of time focused on using up the Project Empties one, so I didn't really use these much, so I'm going to go ahead and keep them out. I'm also going to keep my Precision Brow Fine Brow Pencil from BH Cosmetics out as well. This one is almost used up, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep it out, and once I use it up, I'll pull in something else. The Bella Forever in Brown, this one stays out all the time. I'm going to put back the Revolution Slick Flick. This is from the new Relove collection. It's an okay eyeliner, not one of my favorites. The Relove Power Brow Pencil, I'm going to keep this one in. We're going to put back the LA Colors Ultimate Coverage Concealer in Golden. Love this one. Once I use this one up, though, I think I'm going to go ahead and get it slightly deeper. It's just a little bit too light for me, but the coverage is amazing on this one. Also going to put back our Sephora Make No Mistake Foundation and Concealer Stick. I thought this was going to be a little bit too light for me, but it actually worked really well as concealer. It was really nice and brightening under the under eye area. The only thing is that it didn't really give me a lot of coverage. It's a super creamy formula, very hydrating. But yeah, I need something with a little more coverage, so I may just go ahead and pass this one on to my daughter. She doesn't need as much coverage as I do, and I know she would really enjoy this one. The Ardell Camouflage. I pulled this one out just in case the Sephora one was too light, but we're going to go ahead and put this one back too. Then we have the e.l.f. Camo Color Corrector. This one is in Peach. When I first got this one, I didn't really like it. It's still not one of my favorites, but I did like it more this time around. We're just going to keep using it and see what we think about it, but we are going to go ahead and put it back, for this next rotation. I'm going to keep out the ColourPop Party Proof Eye Primer in Caramel. This has turned out to be like my favorite eyeshadow primer. I'm going to keep this one out. I've almost used this one up. I bought a new one in the Labor Day sale, so we're going to keep this one out until we've completely used it up. And then the powders. First, we have the Revolution. This is the medium yellow loose setting powder. This one all over the face. It has like a slight bit of a glow to it. I mean, it was a really pretty finish, but with me having oily skin, it just kind of added, to the natural glow and shine that I already have to my skin. Under the eyes, though, this was really, really pretty. So I'm going to put this one back, but when I pull it out, I'll just be using it as an under eye powder. I'm also going to put back my Photo Focus Banana from Wet n Wild, one of my favorite powders in my collection. I didn't mention I have a couple of new products over here. This one is the Revolution Bright Eye Bright Powder. It's an under eye brightening powder. It looks beautiful and smooth under the eye. I wouldn't say it's particularly brightening, but as a setting powder, I've really been enjoying it. I'm going to keep this one out. And then the Line Fix Under Eye Primer. This is basically like that poreless putty primer from e.l.f. but for under the eyes. And so far, I've been enjoying it. It's definitely left the under eye looking a little bit smoother. Everything else is staying the same. Now let's move on to this basket. Like I mentioned, I did switch out some things. I had pulled out so much blush, like way more blush than I could ever possibly use. There's still a lot over here, but it's a lot more balanced. And I had a lot of shades that were very, very similar to each other. So switch some things out. So this this doesn't look anything like it did from the September Shop My Stash. Let's quickly go through them. We have 2 shades of the Color Flush Liquid Blushes from ABH Studio. I absolutely love these. This one I pulled out for the Shop My Stash. This one I pulled in later because I realized I had a bunch of like orangey, more neutrally type blushes, and I didn't really have anything on the pinker side to kind of go with some of the other looks I wanted to do, so I went ahead and pulled this one out. The Grease X Revolution Sandy Blush. This is kind of a moussey cream. I'm going to keep this one out. I just got this one in September. It's one of the new products that came in my collection. This one's going to stay out. I'm going to put back the Candlelight Ritual Highlighter from Perfusion. From Odin's Eye. This is another one that I brought in that wasn't in the original Shop My Stash. It's the Soul Main Sunlight Love Blusher in Sunset Clouds because I realized I didn't have, pinky tone, so I pulled this one out. We're going to go ahead and put it back. This one, you guys, this is one of my absolute favorite blushes in my entire collection. It's such a beautiful, like, everyday tone. I'm actually wearing it today. It's from ABH Studio. It's one of the Cherry Blossom blushes in Raku. This blush was literally $1, and it is one of the most beautiful blushes in my entire collection. I'm going to put back the e.l.f. Powder Blusher in Red Brick. It's beautiful. The 2 bronzers that I pulled out, the cream ones. We're going to put both of these back. I do want to talk about them real quick for just a second. First, we have the Revolution. This is the Ultra Cream Bronzer. This pulls so cool tone. It's in medium. When I put this on, it looks like a contour. It does not look like a bronzer at all. Like, even if your skin tone is more medium, this is very, very cool leaning. There's like no warmth to it at all. So I don't know how it's, being advertised as a bronzer. It did look beautiful though as a contour. I would put this one on over my foundation, set my foundation, and then put my powder bronzer over. And I did like the way that it looked, overall, in that particular way. But this is definitely not a bronzer. It comes off more as a contour. Same thing with this one. This is from Tower 28. This one is the Sculptino in Getty. Now, this one is advertised as a bronzer contour. A little more warmth than the one from Revolution, but it still pulls a little more cool tone. But both of them as like contours over my foundation, under my powder, and under my powder bronzer. Both of them look beautiful. We're going to put back our Bella blush from Juvia's Place, as well as the Odin's Eye. This is the flower blusher in Water Lily. We're going to put that one back. As you can see, I still had out a lot of blush, even though I did switch some things out. I also pulled in, this one was not originally in Shop My Stash. I pulled this one in. This is the Disney Designer Collection ColourPop in Kissin' a Frog. I did some really, really beautiful looks with this blush. This powder bronzer from Beauty Bay in Caramel, you guys, I freaking loved this formula. I don't know if you can tell, but there is starting to get a little dip in the middle because I use this one so much. It is such a beautiful formula. I put back the Thaler highlighter in Aspen Glow from Kimchi Chick, one of my favorite formulas. And then the last thing that I pulled out is from Perfusion. This is one of the Full Bloom blushes in Rose Petal. Let me go ahead and put all this stuff back, and then we'll move on to picking out new blush, highlighter, and bronzer products for October. Let's start with base products first. Since we're keeping out the foundations that are already out, we don't need to pick out a foundation, so let's move straight into primer. And I know already I'm going to pull out the one from Kimchi Chick. Hold on, let me find it. This one right here, this is the Effin' Primer. It's a matte primer, so we're going to pull this one out. And then I also like to pull one out for my pores. And I think I'm going to pull this one out this time. It is the Touch and Soul Icy Sherbet Pretty Filter Primer from Touch and Soul. I love this one. Moving on to concealer, I'm not going to pull out any correctors. I have this one from Becca, then my Project Empties. I just want to go ahead and use this one up. So I'm just going to focus on this one instead of pulling out a new corrector for the month. But we are going to pull out some concealers. First, I'm going to pull out the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. I got this in a BoxyCharm a while ago. I really need to use this one up. I like to pull out 2 concealers. So what do I want to do? Do I want to pull out something in my drugstore? I'm going to go ahead and pull out the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This one is in medium sand. So we'll pull this one out, and that'll be our concealers. Setting powder, I'm only going to pull out one, and it's going to be the Kimchi Chick Puff Puff Pass Set and Bake Powder in Banana. So that went really, really quickly. Setting spray, I actually forgot to mention them. I pulled out the Kimchi Stage Proof and the Sephora Makeup Setting Spray. We're going to put both these back real quick and pick out something else. All right, so what do I want to do? I'm going to pull out this one from e.l.f. It is a Stay All Night microfine setting mist. So let's pull this one out. And I think this is the only setting spray that I'm going to pull out for this rotation. Moving right along to blush, highlighter, bronzer. We're going to start off with face palettes. I'm going to pull out the Noctilus, and this is from Bloom Bunny Cosmetics. It's a kind of a multi-chrome highlighting palette. The shades in here are just really pretty and shifting holographic. These are going to be perfect for Halloween looks throughout October. And I'm also going to pull out from Wayne Goss the Weightless Veil Blush Palette in Vivid Azalea. That is like the perfect Halloween blush shade. And I think that's it for face palettes. Yeah, we're not going to pull anything else out of here. Now let's move over to singles. First, we're going to do liner. Keeping out the mascaras that are already out, so, you know, we don't need to pull that. And I'm also keeping out the brow pencil, so I just need to pull a liner. And I think I'm going to pull out the Marilyn Monroe Hard Candy collaboration. Let's pull this one out, and then we are done with this drawer. Before we move into these drawers, there are a couple of things, at least one or two things from the archive that I want to pull. First of all, it's going to be the Villains Highlighter in Ursula. This one is a really pretty, just like dewy, wet-looking purple. It's a super shock. I mean, beautiful. I'm going to pull this one. And do I want to pull anything else? I think that's going to be it. I think it's going to be the only one that we're going to pull over here for now. I may pull in the Hades later, but for now, we're just going to do the Ursula. All right, now for single blushes and highlighters. And I have a pretty good idea of what it is that I'm wanting to pull. So let's start with highlighters. The first one I'm going to pull is from Nomad, the Kofa Gone Moonlight. This is a really pretty kind of a shifty purple. This will go well with that one from ColourPop, the Ursula one. Do I want to pull anything else out in here? I think it's going to be it because I do have the highlighter palette, so I don't really need anything else. Let's do bronzer. Actually, we have these two. These are the Casper collaboration with Perfusion. I just got these. Fabulous and Ghosting You. Both of these are, I don't know if you can see that, it's really pretty holographic shifting highlighters. We are going to pull these mainly because I just got them and I do want to test them out some more. That's going to be it for highlighter. Let's pull a cream and then a powder bronzer. I've kind of used everything in here, so now we're just going in rotation. So I'm going to pull out the one from ABH Studio and Canal, the Venetian Romance. And then for my powder blush, we're just going to go ahead and pull out the Ardell Vacay Mode bronzer and Sex Glow Sunny Brown. Moving into single blushes. I don't think I'm pulling anything out of this drawer. I think everything is coming out of the bottom drawer. All right. Definitely want to pull out this one. It's this Scorched Blush from Be Perfect in Fever. It's a very pretty, wet-looking purple. One thing you will notice is that the blushes and the highlighters, when I pull them out for like the spooky Halloween season, kind of have like similar shades to them. It's just kind of how it goes. I'm going to pull out these three. These are from Casper. These are the Casper Perfusion collaboration. These are the cheek and lip balms. They're 3 different shades. I'm going to pull these out so I can test these too. And that might be it. I may not pull anything else out. Let me do kind of a quick scan and decide. I may change my mind. Let me go ahead and pull this one. This is from ABH Studio, one of the Hush Cream Blushes in Shy. And I want something that's like super rich, something that I wouldn't pull out. Oh, this one. The Plush Blush from ABH Studio in Stratus. So that's going to be the last one I'm going to pull. I may switch out some things throughout the rest of the month. If I do, you know, you'll see when I do the next Shop My Stash. But I think that's it. We got the base products, eyeshadows, blush, highlighter, concealer. Yeah, I think that is going to be it. So let me go ahead and set up the tripod and we'll get this organized. And I think that's it. I think we're going to be done.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time.
As you can see, everything is nicely organized. We have all of our spooky makeup ready to go for October. I did, however, run out of room when I was organizing the blush, the highlighters, and the bronzers. So I didn't have room for the cheek and lip balms from Perfusion. So I just went ahead and I just put them over here and they fit perfectly. Everything is looking nice and organized. That is going to be it for this Shop My Stash. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really do like making this type of content. It allows me to rotate things out so I get use of all my makeup. You guys know that have beauty channels, it's difficult to like get to all the products that you're using, especially when you're like bringing in new products into your collection. So doing this type of video, it allows me to get use out of everything in my collection, and I absolutely love it. If you're new to the channel and you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you consider joining my little family and hitting subscribe. Make sure you tap the bell so you don't miss a thing. You can also follow me on my other socials. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Be safe, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.